So using live translation for the first time, the first thing I had to do was make sure, went into settings and then tapped on my AirPods and downloaded both languages. You have to download both languages that you want to translate to and from. So I had to download Portuguese and English. Once I saw that I had both languages downloaded to my phone, I knew I was ready to use the live translation feature. So I first had to make a phone call and then go to the More button at the bottom once I was on the call, and then hit Live Translation. And that would allow me to start the translation. So I could see that the Start Translation button was live. I pressed that button, and it lets me know that the translation is now on for the call. So there's a lot of steps to the process. Interesting to see that it said beta. And because it said beta, I'm assuming that this is something that's still in the works and not 100% perfected yet. But as I'm talking, it's typing everything in English that I'm saying, and it's reading it back to me as it's reading to the other person in the other language. So it's typing it in English, and I'm hearing it in my ear, reading it back to the other person, saying it in Portuguese. Now, what percentage would I say they're getting correct or getting the language translation correct? Sometimes it was 80%, sometimes it was 100%, sometimes it was 20%. If I said seem, which was yes, a very simple word, everybody knows how to say yes in every language, it would sometimes type it in English, seem, like seam that you're sewing a seam. And a sewing seam, S-E-E or S-E-A-M, but it's not picking up on those nuances. And I'm assuming just like Google Translate, over time, it's going to get a little bit better. And the same thing occurred when my wife, who I was speaking to, when she was speaking to me in Portuguese, it was translating it into English, and about the same percentage, sometimes 20%, sometimes 80%, sometimes 100%. But you can see from the dialogue, which was taking place during the conversation, that some of it just didn't make any sense, and it would just, if the word sounds very close, and I'm sure with probably AI or some development, it's going to get better as time goes on. It's better than having nothing. Would I use it in a meeting or a really, really important call? If I didn't have any other translation there and I wanted to kind of get it, I'm a translator there, I might, but in reality, I wouldn't, because basicamente, baro, in the two calls, we made 10%. That's what it translated it to. So it's not perfect. But it's better than nothing. Or then we used the word again, and it translated to bottle, which didn't make much sense. So I would use it casually, but run the risk of, you don't want to accept it as a total given, because you can end up with some very insulting moments if you were to. But for a very simple conversation, if the person's patient, even for me learning a language, who's been learning a language for years, someone who I speak to has to be really patient speaking to me, and I guess the same with the program. And as times get better, I'm sure it's going to improve. And you can follow along and read kind of the dialogue on screen and see if any of it makes sense to you, because it's just translating over the conversation. And you can see those instances where it makes sense and those instances where it makes no sense whatsoever, and we're having to repeat things over and over. It's going to get better as time goes on. This is just like a first use after it's been introduced a matter of weeks. And when you tap on it, it does say it's in beta. So, it's not like 100% at this point. When we started using Teams for work stuff, it wasn't perfect, and everyone's understanding of it wasn't perfect. Translation system, Google Translate, has gradually over a long time gotten so much better. So I think this will be the same situation. And I'd recommend staying on this and just reading the dialogue, because I think that'll be most helpful, moreover than me just talking and talking and talking. And you get to the end of it when it asks you to do the important thing, like the video and subscribe. We'd really like to get to 1,000 subscribers. That would be so nice. And the only way it's going to happen is if some of you hit the subscribe button. So with that, hope you guys have a great day, and I'll let you continue reading without having to listen to me. Take care and enjoy the day.